A different one today. Enjoyed doing this one because it was a bit of trial and error and seeing what kind of worked and developing the exercise to see, really sort of making it quite adaptable to see how the horse responded and what can I do to be able to make the exercise better and sort of refine it. So you can see I've got some poles making a square or more of a sort of almost like a rectangle here today. And then I've put some white dressage boards, and I've put them to be able to help keep her out because I thought that might be quite a good way to be able to, she naturally falls in. So I thought this might be quite a good way to be able to keep her out and maybe use the poles of the square to be able to keep her into the corners. And then when she might sort of fall in along the short sides or long sides, whatever you want to call them, when she might fall in and her body might fall in, well, those hopefully would be able to push her out. Well, they did, but they almost pushed her out too far. So she'd actually push out too much away from the whiteboard and then almost fell in round the corners. So it almost made the opposite effect. So I started to add some transitions into walk and see if I can sort of get control of her and be able to control the speed, take time and be able to sort of straighten her up again in that way so she didn't bulge out so much around the whiteboards, which was definitely effective and started to work. But I still wasn't really happy that she was responding and going into the corners quite as much as I'd like. So I changed the boards and I thought actually, and this is something I do quite a lot riding when I've got a horse that I really want to push in towards the corners. So I use this particularly, ridden, and I haven't ever actually done this before lunging. So I put the boards across and straight away it's great. Well, she wants to fall in quite a lot and you'll see sometimes she goes on the insides of them. But actually when we started to be able to help use them to be able to actually again sort of push her out. You can make these as deep as you like into the corners or as further away if you need to. I obviously put them quite deep to start with because I really specifically wanted to make sure that actually she was as close to the edge of my rails as possible. I wanted to make the circle bigger and more towards a square. So she started to get this. It was great. I did notice that I actually stopped and noticed that her bearing down was a problem. It was hindering my steering. I noticed that actually her balance started to go a little bit too much on her front end and she wasn't really looking where she's going. She's nearly paying attention too much to the contact and not sort of where she's looking. So, and that as it obviously didn't help getting around the board. So I actually changed the reins from low and I put them up much higher on the roller. So I've never done that with her again. It's something different. And the effect was quite massive actually with her because she was going too round. It meant that she lightened her front end. She actually looked where she's going and then she started to be able to go around really quite sweetly around the boards. Yes, there's a little bit of drift where there's a gap from the square, but minimal compared to before when the boards were on sort of the centre bits. So I really liked this exercise for her. It worked really nicely and so much so that I thought, oh, great, this looks really good today, really balanced. And I like the frame and I like the lightness in front and started to work on her canter again. And I thought, I'm going to measure now how this exercise has worked for her to see how good her canter was. And often I've said I've struggled a little bit because she's quite, I struggle on the lunge to be able to push her quarters out, to be able to find something to be able to help with that. When I'm riding, it's easier. I can use my leg, I can, make her quicker, whatever. But it's harder on a circle to do this, especially from the floor. So these boards really help me be able to keep her out and be able to improve the canter. And I'm delighted with how the canter's going. And that transition you saw there was absolutely fantastic and really lovely canter and balanced. She's taking time in her canter. There's a little bit more weight on her hind legs and the front legs are up. She gives her a nice level of cadence there, nice time in the air. Should give her a rider a really nice feeling to sit on. As always, I always make sure she stretches off well to be able to cool the muscles down and sort of gradually warm her down. And what I really liked is that she stretched really well here, even though the lunge lines are really quite high. So it proved to me that the work we're doing is correct because she still wants to stretch. And I sort of give them usually around a 5-minute walk off, depends how hot or cool the weather is, to be able to warm them down and ready for the next day.